Every single day, there are millions of people around the country that are in dire need of help. Whether it's disaster relief, blood transfusions, or just military families in need of support, the American Red Cross Foundation was founded in May 21st of 1881 by Clara Barton. She founded this organization to help people all across the world and aid them in disaster relief, donating blood, and helping military families in times of need. Today I will be discussing the three main things that the American Red Cross Foundation does. Number one is monetary donations, two is giving blood, and three is their donation of time. Number one, the monetary donations. Monetary donations can be very helpful when looking to aid the Red Cross Foundation in supporting people. Monetary donations help the Red Cross to respond to 64,000 disasters every year, whether that's from natural disasters such as Hurricane Harvey or just simple house fires. Monetary donations help them to get their vehicles and their staff over to those areas and help those people in a time of need. It also has allowed them to provide shelter, food, and emotional support to those in need. For example, after Hurricane Harvey came through, there were many people that didn't have a home, that didn't have any food, and needed emotional support in order to get their life back on track. And providing monetary donations to the American Red Cross can help them get their life back on track. And also, monetary donations save millions of lives every year because the Red Cross Foundation is not just countrywide, it is worldwide. So monetary donations go to everybody around the world that is in need of help. But it is up to you on selecting which one you want to choose. And then monetary donations in action. One case that proves how monetary donations help is Sarah Centrella. She was a single mom whose house burned down, and it took everything of value. Her husband divorced her a few years back, and her house burned down, and they lost everything of value in the home, and it just left her with her and her kids left to move on to a new life. And the Red Cross Foundation came in and found housing for them, gave them all the basic essentials to make it to where they could live their daily lives. Number two is blood donations. The American Red Cross is also known for their blood donations. There's also there's blood drives all the time with the American Red Cross. The American Red Cross saves millions of lives each year with blood transfusions from generous donors. These blood transfusions can be very helpful in aiding cancer patients or burn patients that are losing blood. Every 2 seconds, somebody in the United States of America is in need of a blood transfusion. So with there being so much blood needed in the U.S., anything was helpful when it comes to getting blood. The Red Cross is responsible for 40% of today's blood products in the United States of America. So the American Red Cross is one of the biggest blood donors in the United States. And one example of how the blood donations work and how they are in action is Lindsay Crowder was just 2 years old when she was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia and relapsed at 6 years old. But thanks to the American Red Cross, she was saved. She spent 130 days in the hospital getting blood and platelet transfusions from the Red Cross donations. And now her family is now frequent blood donors, and they very often help out with the Red Cross since they saved their daughter's life. Next is donations of time. In my personal opinion, for kids of a young age, donations of time is the best way to get involved because you don't necessarily have a bunch of money and you're not quite old enough to be able to donate blood. So donating your time is the absolute best way to get involved in the Red Cross. Donations of time are one of the best ways for younger people to get involved. 25% of volunteers are 24 years of age or under, which makes up the majority, which is the biggest majority group out of everybody. And also it looks great on resumes. If you can put on a resume that you have donated your time to the Red Cross or just worked with them in disaster relief, it looks great on a resume. And one example of how donations of time in action is Diane Market was one of the many affected by Hurricane Harvey, losing everything except for her dog, Chestnut. The Red Cross volunteers rushed to Rockport, Texas, saved her and her dog, and gave her shelter and food and the emotional support she needed, thanks to the generous donors that donated their time to help everybody in need. So get involved today by donating money, donating blood, or donating time. Just visit www.redcross.org/volunteer and get involved today and be a part of the solution. Thank you. I'll now open the floor for questions.
All right, so my personal knowledge of the Red Cross has always been the disaster relief side, going in, aiding areas that have been struck by disasters, so on and so forth. The one part I'm not really familiar with, never heard of, is the blood donations. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that, please?
Yes, so you're right. The Red Cross Foundation is very well known for their disaster relief efforts and helping people with their with getting everything together to help them move on with life. But one big part they do have is the blood drive. They make up to 40% of the world's blood products in the U.S. So, yes, it's very impressive. So what that does is they take the blood and then it goes to a testing facility where they test the blood and make sure it's safe to use, and then they ship it off to areas that need the blood to help cancer patients, burn victims, and anything of that sort, anybody that might potentially need the blood.